Shedeur Sanders just gave the Cleveland Browns something they have been desperately searching for: a reason to believe. And the timing could not be more interesting, because while the Browns are still trying to sort out their quarterback situation, Sanders stepped into a 2-minute drill and delivered the kind of performance that instantly changes the conversation. The numbers tell part of the story. Shedeur finished the drill 8 of 16 with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, while Deshaun Watson went 13 of 25 without a touchdown. Dylan Gabriel also had his moments, but suddenly, the attention is locked on Sanders. And that is where this story gets interesting, because one practice does not decide an NFL season, but it can absolutely change the pressure surrounding a quarterback competition. Cleveland has spent years trying to find stability at the most important position on the field. Now, a rookie quarterback who has already been under a microscope for years is giving the Browns something they cannot ignore: momentum. The biggest detail here is not simply that Shedeur threw 2 touchdown passes. It is that he did it in a situation designed to test a quarterback's composure. A 2-minute drill forces the offense to move quickly, process information, manage the clock, and make decisions without wasting opportunities. There is no luxury of sitting in the huddle forever. There is no time to reset after every mistake. The quarterback has to see the field, trust his reads, and deliver. According to the account of the practice, that is exactly what Sanders did. He looked comfortable, aggressive, and willing to attack. And every successful rep adds another layer to a competition that the Browns clearly are not treating as a formality. That matters because Cleveland's coaching staff has already made it clear that reps have to be earned. The message from the staff has essentially been simple: play well, maximize your opportunities, and your workload can increase. Dylan Gabriel has reportedly done enough to earn additional opportunities, and that deserves recognition. But there is another side to that equation. If the Browns believe performance should lead to more reps, then Sanders' performance creates an obvious question. What happens when he keeps producing? That is the pressure point now. Sanders did not walk into Cleveland as some unknown quarterback who nobody had heard of. His name has been attached to football conversations for years. He played college football at Colorado under his father, Dylan Sanders, and that spotlight followed him everywhere. Every throw became a debate. Every mistake became a headline. Every confident moment became evidence for somebody's argument. Supporters saw a quarterback with toughness, accuracy, poise, and a natural feel for the position. Critics questioned his athletic limitations, his ability to operate under NFL pressure, and whether his college success would translate against professional defenses. That debate did not disappear when he entered the NFL. It followed him straight into Cleveland, which is why moments like this matter. They do not prove that he is already a franchise quarterback. They do not guarantee he will win the starting job. But they give Sanders something every rookie needs: more evidence. And when the evidence keeps piling up, the conversation becomes harder to control. The most intriguing part of the performance was the way Sanders reportedly handled the pressure. The description coming out of the practice emphasized his ability to stay composed in the pocket, work through the situation, and put the football in positions where his receivers could make plays. That is the kind of quarterbacking coaches want to see when the clock is running down. You can have a big arm, great athleticism, and impressive college numbers. But if you cannot process quickly when everything speeds up, the NFL will expose you. The 2-minute drill is one of those environments where hesitation becomes obvious. The quarterback has to understand the situation before the snap and then adjust instantly when the defense changes the picture. Sanders' 2-touchdown, 0 interception performance gave his supporters plenty to point toward. But there is another layer to this. The Browns are not simply deciding between quarterbacks in a vacuum. They are trying to escape the enormous shadow left by the Deshaun Watson era. Cleveland made a massive investment in Watson, including a then-record $230 million fully guaranteed contract. The move was supposed to solve the quarterback problem. Instead, the situation became defined by injuries, suspension, inconsistent play, and an enormous amount of controversy. That history still hangs over the franchise. Every quarterback decision Cleveland makes now gets compared to the decisions that came before it. That is why Sanders' rise is so fascinating. If he eventually becomes the answer, Cleveland could move from one of the most frustrating quarterback chapters in recent franchise history to an entirely different story. But the Browns cannot simply hand him the job because fans are excited. They have to evaluate everything: practice consistency, decision-making, command of the offense, protection adjustments, accuracy, performance against different defensive looks, and eventually what he does in actual games. That is the responsible way to judge a rookie. Still, there is no denying that the temperature around Sanders is rising. The more he produces, the more difficult it becomes to keep the competition theoretical. Fans do not care about potential forever. Eventually, they want to see results, and Sanders is beginning to provide them. Then there is the social media reaction. Sanders already attracts an unusually intense level of attention, so every strong practice becomes ammunition for his supporters, and every mistake becomes ammunition for his critics. After this performance, the believers had plenty to celebrate. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a strong 2-minute drill. But the skeptics have an easy response too. It is training camp, and that point is fair. Training camp success is not the same thing as succeeding on Sundays. Defenses are experimenting, players are fighting for jobs, coaches are evaluating, rather than necessarily game planning for an opponent. So nobody should pretend that one practice settles the entire debate. But there is a difference between saying a practice proves everything and saying a practice matters. It absolutely matters. Coaches use these practices to determine who deserves opportunities. Players use them to establish trust, and quarterbacks use them to show that they can handle pressure. That is why Sanders' performance has suddenly become such a talking point. The Browns are watching, the quarterbacks around him are watching, the receivers are watching, and so are the fans. The real question is no longer whether Sanders can create excitement. He already has. The question is whether he can turn that excitement into consistency. Because one electric drill can make headlines. Doing it again and again and again is how a quarterback takes control of a competition. And if Sanders keeps stacking performances like this, the Browns may eventually reach a point where the argument is no longer about who deserves an opportunity. It becomes about who gives Cleveland the best chance to win. And that is when this quarterback competition could get very uncomfortable.